Was Taika Waititi's biggest victory the thing that set up his biggest failure? For years, he was the indie director everyone wanted to protect. Oddball, humane, and lovable. Then Marvel put his name on a tentpole and the rules changed. This isn't a simple talent rose then fell story. It's about creative systems, unchecked freedom, and the surprising way audiences punish imbalance. Taika's childhood had texture. Born in New Zealand in 1975 to a Maori father and a mother with Russian, Jewish, Irish roots, he learned early that identity is messy and humor is often a survival skill. His parents divorced when he was young, a fracture that keeps appearing in his work as absent fathers, half-formed heroes and kids who must invent play to survive. He made short films in the festival circuit, scrappy, intimate and tender, and hit his first major milestone when his short Two Cars, One Night earned an Academy Award nomination in 2005. That festival circuit legitimacy gave him credibility outside the quirky label. He could make festival art that people actually connected with. The early features showed the pattern. Eagle vs. Shark, awkward, darkly comic. Boy from 2010, a breakthrough in emotional honesty. And What We Do in the Shadows, 2014, which refined his gift for deadpan absurdity. Each film proved the same thing. Waititi could make the weird feel human. That reputation is what got Hollywood's attention. Two titles matter most when you map Taika's ascent. First, Thor, Ragnarok. Marvel had shoehorned Thor into dourness. Taika gave the franchise color, music, and a tone flip that made the character popular again. Ragnarok wasn't just a hit, it redefined what a blockbuster could be. Energetic, weird, emotionally surprising. The industry started filing him under director who can rehabilitate a franchise. Second, Jojo Rabbit, a dark satire about a boy with an imaginary friend who happens to be Adolf Hitler. On paper, it's incendiary. In Taika's hands, it became oddly tender, winning him the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay in 2020 and elevating him from indie darling to award-winning auteur. That Oscar was the cultural validation that now made his voice not just entertaining, but influential. This combination, box office savvy and awards gravitas, is rare. It's what put studios on red alert. Taika could sell tickets and win respect. So when Marvel wanted him back for another Thor, the temptation to hand him full creative reins was intense. Here's where things get messy. With Thor, Love and Thunder, the studio offered Taika more than before. He was not only directing but also had a larger hand in the script and production decisions. In the best case, that should have meant a bolder, clearer film. What happened instead felt like unchecked iterative chaos. Production anecdotes, improvisations left unedited, whole sets built and dismantled, scenes shot that never landed. Paint a picture of a director indulging impulses in a project the size of a country's GDP. The result was a movie that many found tonally inconsistent. Jokes undercut dramatic beats, pacing that never allowed emotion to land, and visual effects that frequently looked rushed. In short, it read like fun run wild, where restraint should have been the editorial guardrail. The reaction was immediate. Chris Hemsworth later reflected that the film felt too silly, admitting that he sometimes became a parody of himself, a rare public line from a marquee star indicating real misgivings. Financially, Love and Thunder did fine at the box office, but underperformed relative to expectations and budget. With a reported production budget in the hundreds of millions, the film's global gross landed it in the profitable but disappointing category. Enough money to justify a studio memo, not enough to call the era a victory parade. Those numbers matter because studios use them to justify trust. And that trust tightened after this film. The numbers. What turned a frustrated handful into a consensus was the internet's machinery. Clips, reaction videos, think pieces, and essayists amplified small missteps into a single narrative. Taika had let the style that made him special become a crutch. Lines from interviews, jokes about effects, and social media posts were stitched into a portrait of a filmmaker who'd stopped listening. Then there's the optics. Taika and cast members publicly poked at questionable VFX in interviews, a move some saw as mean to the teams who'd been scrambling to deliver work under impossible timelines. When creators mock their own film's weak points in public, the audience reads that as arrogance or careless PR, and the backlash hardens. Reporting and commentary at the time highlighted that mixing self-deprecating humor with public dismissal of technical teams can amplify resentment rather than deflect it. This is how trust erodes, not in one scene, but in 1,000 public moments where intent, context, and goodwill are misread or weaponized. This is the core lesson, and the one your viewers will keep talking about long after the comments close. Taika's real strength has always been balance, letting absurd jokes warm up, painful human moments without letting the comedy flatten the stakes. That discipline lives in editing choices, restraint in improvisation, and the courage to say no, to cut a favorite gag because it undermines a dramatic beat. On a studio scale, discipline has to be institutional. Producers who can temper impulses, editors with the power to fight for shape, and a production structure that prevents endless rewriting on stage. Ragnarok had more of that scaffolding. Love and Thunder had less. The difference was visible. Another factor, scale friction. Small films can be wildly experimental because failure is cheaper and the audience is different. On a 250 million of production, every indulgence compounds. When you combine Taika's improv instinct with blockbuster logistics, you get unpredictability not as charm, but as instability. You don't need to dig deep to find quotes. The pattern is plain. Actors talk about improvisation that ran away. Critics called the film scattershot. Fans posted scathing breakdowns. Chris Hemsworth's own admissions that he sometimes felt he didn't stick the landing are particularly telling. If your lead actor signals discomfort, it's a red flag that the performance direction and script are out of sync. At the same time, some defenders argued the film simply tried something different, and that the audience should be more forgiving of tonal risk. That position has merit. Creative experiments should have breathing room, but risk and accountability are a package. The mainstream audience expects a payoff for the gamble. If the payoff feels uneven, goodwill evaporates quickly. It's tempting to write a single villain, but the truth is institutional. Studios often reward success with more control because they want a repeatable formula. That means talent moves from a protective ecosystem into one where the only checks are the same people who were rewarded for letting them do the thing that worked. So was it Taika's hubris, or was it a system that handed him absolute freedom after a run of visionary hits? The answer is both. He bears responsibility for decisions made on set and in public. The system bears responsibility for not insisting on the counterweights that kept his smaller hits sharp. This is the kind of nuanced angle that keeps viewers watching. Not just fame breaks people, but systems that reward hero worship often remove the necessary friction that made the hero good in the first place. Here's the news everyone's watching. As of mid-2025, Taika Waititi has been attached to direct a Judge Dredd movie, a high-profile, risky choice that could rewrite how we remember him. Variety reported his attachment, noting he's shepherding a version that promises to pull closer to the comic's satirical teeth. But the project is still being shopped and no studio is locked in yet. That means there's time. Time to get the right creative framework, collaborators, and constraints in place. Why is this interesting? Because a property like Judge Dredd demands tonal control. It's dark, satirical, and unforgiving. Exactly the kind of story where a director's lack of restraint would be exposed. If Taika approaches it with the lessons of Love and Thunder in mind, stronger editors, clearer producers, and a production plan that prioritizes narrative discipline, it could be a course correction. If he repeats the same playbook, it could accelerate the career slide. He's also attached to smaller projects and streaming work that show glimpses of his old strengths. Focused, humane, funny in the ways that land. Those are the laboratories he needs now. Low risk, high learning. Redemption is simple to name and hard to execute. For Taika, it means three things: restoring balance, make films where humor supports emotion rather than erases it, let scenes breathe, relearning restraint, bring back the room that says no, and trust those people. Good producers are abrasive in a useful way. Public humility. Stop publicly mocking the teams who make the film happen. Gratitude looks better than jokes about shortcuts. Studios watch three signals: critical reception, audience sentiment, and box office trajectory. Small, strong films that win back critics' trust and show disciplined craft often reset that calculus. The path is narrow but possible. Many directors have crashed and retooled. In the internet age, the comeback plays out publicly. The margin for error is small, but sincere improvement is noticed. Taika Waititi's arc is not a morality play about talent being punished. It's a pragmatic lesson. Creativity needs guardrails when it's scaled up. When they're gone, audiences don't forgive in the same way. They amplify missteps, they meme, they mock, and they move on. But talent like his doesn't just vanish. The tools that made him special, a voice that blends weirdness with tenderness, are still there. The trick now is to let discipline shape that voice again. If he does, the comeback could be spectacular. Not because he returns to what he did before, but because he levels up. Risk with restraint, humor with consequence, and spectacle with heart. Whether you think he deserves another shot will depend on what you value more. Bold experimentation or reliable craft? That's the question the audience will answer. One ticket purchase and one streaming view at a time. So what do you think? Was Love and Thunder a one-off misfire or a sign of a creator who lost his compass under pressure? Is Judge Dredd the right reset or the wrong place to test a shaky hand? Comment below, hit like if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe if you want more deep dives into how Hollywood really works behind the cameras.